Happy Wednesday, everybody. We are halfway through the work week, thank God. Well, maybe for some of you, a couple hours when lunchtime comes around, then you'll officially be halfway through the work week. But man, weekend is on the horizon. It is coming soon, thank goodness. We're going to do our week 4. We're going to do a little bit of, not full review like we used to, quick review of what happened, some crazy things, surprising things. Then week 5 preview. Got a lot of news items to get to. So before we get started, hit that subscribe button down there, wherever it is, so you don't miss anything. With it, let's get to it. Some of this is kind of old news because we only do the show once a week now. So some of this you may have already heard, probably already have heard anyway. Penn State safety Kevin Winston Jr., he went out with a long-term injury a couple weeks ago. Have not seen back when he might return. So hopefully he gets better soon, and hopefully he can return to the team. Wake Forest, they announced a home and home series with Oregon State. They'll go to Corvallis next year, 2025. Oregon State will come to Winston-Salem in 2029, so that's pretty cool. The 2025 game replaces a return trip back to Ole Miss for Wake Forest. Lane Kiffin, he wasn't happy with that, saying it violates an unwritten rule. If it's an unwritten rule, it's an unwritten rule. But he does have a point. I mean, you went there and played them. They should come play you. And to get out of it like that, I can see where he's coming from. But maybe Wake Forest just doesn't want to get whooped again. Who knows? Looks like the ACC, Florida State and Clemson, renew the revenue distribution talks. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Probably because nobody wants Florida State and Clemson, and they realize that. So they figured they better fix what they got there at home. So, I don't know how to feel about this. Tennessee is now charging a 10% service charge on all tickets. It's called a talent fee. It will help pay athletes as part of their new revenue sharing plan for 2025. So if you go to a Tennessee game where you got season tickets, you're going to be paying 10% extra because it's a talent fee. Now, here's my question. If the team you're going to see sucks ass, they're still going to charge a talent fee? Huh? Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed an order that prohibits the NCAA or athletic conferences from punishing any university or college in Georgia for offering compensation or compensating a student athlete. Basically, he made it okay for universities in Georgia to pay players direct. So state government's getting involved. I guess they want to keep winning. So, Hey, but on a lighter note, no Georgia players have been arrested in the last 2 weeks. So, bright side there. Hey, this is good. I like this. Opening night in college basketball season. Like I said, this is old news. They may have finalized this. May include Baylor and Gonzaga. Both schools were talking about to finalize that deal. May have already been finalized, like I said. I didn't see anything, but hey, it may. You never know. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool for opening night there. After that 70-50 loss to James Madison, a lot of people saying Mack Brown was wandering around the locker room, kind of rattling off stuff, and came out that he may have stepped down. Well, he said, no, I'm not resigning. I guess his head was just in a fog or whatever from what happened there in Kenan Stadium against James Madison. So he's not retiring. Oklahoma's Brent Venables said they will reevaluate the quarterback position. Bench Jackson Arnold Saturday night against Tennessee. Michael Hawkins Jr. came in. Hawkins Jr. actually played a little better. But Brent Venables says we are going to reevaluate that whole thing. Auburn coach Hugh Freeze said we've got to find a guy that won't throw it to the other team. Hank Brown, he threw 3 interceptions. Peyton Thorne threw a pick. Damari Alston, he fumbled in the game. So he calling out people left and right. I can understand the frustration, but I wouldn't be doing that. But hey, it's just me. So last show we mentioned about Oregon State or Pac-12, Pac-2, whatever you want to call them now, picking teams out of the Mountain West. Actually, I got the photo here. Fresno State was one of them, and who else was in there? Colorado State, Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State. Utah State was kind of back and forth on it. So was UNLV. Both of them said eventually, no, we're going to stay at the Mountain West. Well, Utah State changed their mind. They decided, we're going to go to the new Pac-12. Now, last couple of days, UNLV has said, well, wait a minute, we need to rethink this thing then. I think the solution to all this is for the Mountain West and the Pac-2 or whatever to just merge into one conference. I mean, I know it's tradition there, the Pac-12, Mountain West, especially Mountain West has some really good football teams in that conference. Just merge them, call them the, Pac Mountain Conference or something, But I think that's the best thing to do is just merge those two conferences. You'll get 16 teams or something like that, maybe. I would just do it. I really would. But, you know how things work in these conferences. You can't tell anybody how to run their conference. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do a quick review Thursday. What the hell's happened to Appalachian State? Remember the Giant Killer? They used to go into stadiums, kick people's butts. Michigan, A&M, others. Not doing too good. 2-2 this year. Still in first place though of the Sun Belt East Division of that conference. South Alabama went into Thursday, beat them down 48-14 in their own stadium. 41-7 hitting into halftime there. Gio Lopez, South Alabama quarterback, 2 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown. Fluff Bothwell, 2 rushing touchdowns for South Alabama. App State. I don't know what's happened to that team. Friday, man, did you watch any college football Friday night? I had high school football on the iPad, but I had the college on the big TV. Wow, 3 close games. 2 of them went into overtime. Stanford kicks a field goal as time expires to beat Syracuse 26-24. Kicker was Emmett Kennedy, who also made 4 field goals that night. Illinois, Nebraska, man, that was back and forth all night. Came down to OT. I don't know what happened to the Cornhuskers. They just melted down in overtime. Couldn't do anything right. Mistakes cost them the game. Altmaier for Illinois, 4 touchdown passes in that game. They were after the game though. It was evenly matched pretty much in every category there was. Illinois did have the better rushing game. Probably what might have helped them. Nebraska did have a better passing game, surprisingly, even though Altmaier threw 4 touchdown passes for the Illini. Illini defense, 5 sacks in that one. Illinois, riding high, looking good. We'll go over it, but I believe they play Penn State Saturday night in Happy Valley. I think that's who they play. We'll find that out here in a minute. But, crazy, man. Nebraska, I guess they just ran out of gas in OT, mentally and physically. It's crazy. Other overtime game, Washington State beat San Jose State 54-52. Those fans got their money's worth in that game. Cougars led 24-17 at half. In the third quarter, San Jose State outscored Wazoo 21-0 to take the lead. Fourth quarter, Washington State outscored San Jose State 22-8 to force overtime. No one scored in the first overtime. Second overtime, Washington State scored their touchdown and their extra point. San Jose State, they scored 6, didn't make the 2-point conversion in the second one. Quarterback John Mather for the Cougars, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns, ran for 111 and a touchdown. Dylan Payne, 2 rushing touchdowns. San Jose State's quarterback Emmett Brown, 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, ran for a touchdown. Also, Floyd Clark IV, 2 rushing touchdowns. Nick Nash, 152 receiving yards, 16 catches, 2 touchdowns for San Jose State. Serious offense in that game, really, really was. 106 total points, 56 first downs, 1,118 total yards, 170 total plays between those two. Pretty crazy. Moving on to Saturday, I don't know what the Houston Cougars' problem is. They got Coach Fitz from Tulane. Figured they would turn that thing around. No, they are 1-3. Lost to Cincinnati, 34-0. Brandon Sorsby, Cincy quarterback, 2 touchdown passes to Xavier Henderson. He also ran for a touchdown. Army, 3-0, beat the other Houston team, Rice, 37-14. Bryson Daly, Army quarterback, threw for 107 yards. 2 touchdowns, threw 2 touchdown passes, but he also ran for 3 touchdowns and 145 yards. Pretty good, impressive. Florida wins. Gators, man, the Gators win. Beat Mississippi State 45-28. Graham Mertz for the Gators, 201 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Also ran for a touchdown in that game. Gator defense, 3 sacks and a turnover. Blake Shapen, quarterback for Mississippi State. Not too bad of a game. 140 passing yards, touchdown. Also ran for a touchdown. But Florida, they win. Mississippi State back to the drawing board. A lot of people watching earlier games, some of the big ones, Clemson, North Carolina State, and what was the other one? I forget the other one. That's crazy, isn't it? I watched Tulane, Louisiana. Hell of a game, man. That really was a hell of a game. Back and forth. Tulane always did have a slight edge, though, in point-wise. I mean, they'd score. Louisiana would score, but still be like a point or 2 or 3 behind. So they kept that leading edge of score. But that's a really good game. Tulane ended up winning 41-33. Jack, let's see if I can butcher his name. Jack Shonero, 38-yard pick 6 for Tulane. Rashawn Pleasant, 94-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Their defense had 2 sacks, 2 turnovers, held Louisiana to 2 for 9 on third down. Ben Woolridge, though, quarterback for Louisiana, had a good game. 238 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Crazy, Billy Napier left Louisiana. He had Louisiana rolling. Left them, went to Florida, ain't doing too good. They're doing okay without him, but not like they were. Indiana, look at Indiana go. 4-0, beat Charlotte 52-14. Kansas, what's the problem, Kansas? You are 1-3 now. Like we mentioned earlier, Mac Brown, James Madison goes into Chapel Hill, beats North Carolina 70-50. I didn't see that coming. I didn't know who was going to win this game, but I just figured it'd be a lot closer than 20 points. And I didn't really realize that many points would be scored. Duke's quarterback, Alonzo Barnett III, 388 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Ran for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns on that one. Defense held North Carolina to 2 for 9 on third down. Also, they had 3 sacks and forced 5 turnovers. Terrence Spence, 33-yard pick 6. Pretty impressive. Like we mentioned, Clemson, North Carolina State. I figured the Wolfpack would put up more of a fight. They didn't. Lost by 24. I thought Ohio would play better against Kentucky, which they did in the first half. It was a very low-scoring game in the first half. Kentucky got their crap together, beat them 41-6. Virginia beat Coastal Carolina 43-24. Cavaliers, 384 rushing yards in that game. Both of them are 3-1 now. Eastern Michigan 3-1. They beat St. Francis, Pennsylvania 36-0. David Carter Jr., 99-yard fumble return for a touchdown on that one. Temple, they won their first game. Congratulations to the Owls. Beat Utah State 45-29. Owls scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth to get that victory. Iowa State, they're 3-0. Beat Arkansas State 52-7. Cyclones defense held the Red Wolves, to 12 first downs, 5 for 13 on third down, 182 total yards. Defense had 4 turnovers and 4 sacks in that one. Navy beat Memphis. Their first loss of the season for Memphis. Navy won 56-44. Blake Harbaugh for Navy, 192 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Ran for 211 yards and 4 touchdowns. Guy had a hell of a game. Texas Tech, they're 3-1, beat Arizona State 30-22. Arizona State, though, they're doing good this year. That could be the comeback story of the year. We'll wait and see what happens the rest of the year. Auburn, what the hell's wrong with you? Quarterback, coach, 2-2 now. Coach went off on the quarterback. It always seems like since Gus Malzahn was outed, whatever, it's like Auburn's just a dumpster fire now. No matter who goes there and coaches, it's just crazy. Rutgers, hey, they're quiet at 3-0. Beat Vaught Tech by 3. Hokies 2-2 now. Not what you expect from a Virginia Tech program. Pitt beat Youngstown State 73-17. Pitt scored double-digit points in every quarter of that game. Buffalo beat number 23 Northern Illinois 23-20 in overtime, and Buffalo's now 3-1. I guess Northern Illinois is still on that Notre Dame winning high there. LSU and UCLA. Man, what a freaking game. LSU ends up winning 34-17. LSU's weird on offense and defense. One series, they look like a top 10, top 5 team going to cruise to the playoffs. The very next series, they look like they shouldn't even be playing football. Very, very crazy team. Very, very crazy. 17-17 game at the half. UCLA offense did a number on LSU defense in the first half. Second half came. LSU clicked on both sides of the ball. And they finally got things going. Outscored UCLA 17-0 in the second half. UCLA mistakes, penalties that really helped LSU stay in the game and even score points. Nussmeier for the Tigers, 352 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions nor sacks either. So the O-line kind of did their job there. Hit 3 different receivers in this game. Tigers had 26 first downs, 10 for 15 on third down, 452 total yards, only 5 penalties for 22 yards, so not too bad there. Bruins, 17 first downs, 5 for 12 on third down, 294 total yards, only 14 rushing yards in this game, though. So the LSU run defense really did help them out. 9, like I said, penalties, 9 penalties for 80 yards. Ethan Garbers, quarterback for the Bruins, 281 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 5 times. Only going to get tougher for LSU, so we're really going to see what's going on there. Khalil Mullings, 1-yard rushing touchdown with 41 seconds left to lift Michigan to a 27-24 win over USC. Will Johnson had a 42-yard pick six. Mullings, 159 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Trojans quarterback Miller Moss, 283 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sacked 4 times by the Michigan defense. USC turned the ball over twice and had only 96 rushing yards in this game. So another team with some good rushing defense, Michigan. Penn State beat Kent State 56-0. Drew Aller, 309 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and ran for 1. Kent State was held for 1-11 on third down. Only 6 first downs in this game and 67 total yards. Penn State defense really did a number on. Utah remains undefeated. They beat Oklahoma State 22-19 in Stillwater. Utah defense held Oklahoma State to 11 first downs, 4 for 15 on third down, 285 total yards, just 48 rushing yards, and they had 2 turnovers. That might be the whole key to last weekend. Low rushing yards, because a lot of good run defense was played last Saturday. Mizzou, boy, they escaped Vanderbilt, didn't they? With a 3-point win. Vandy actually led this game by 3 at halftime. Tigers are playing with fire every week like LSU. You just don't know what's going to happen. Craig, those 2 teams are just crazy right now. SMU moves to 3-1, beat their rival TCU 66-42. Frogs coach Sonny Dykes, who used to coach at SMU, tossed from the game. If I remember right, he was arguing with officials or something about the call. It looks like it's getting darker. We got a thunderstorm rolling in here, so things might get a little bit darker. Let's see here. Liberty moved to 4-0, beat East Carolina 35-24. Liberty quarterback Caden Salter, 223 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Wide receiver Reese Smith, 3 touchdown catches. Western Kentucky, they gave Toledo their first loss, won by 5. Both of them are 3-1 now. Look at UConn, 2-2 after having had a crappy team the last few years. They're actually 2-2 now. Beat Florida Atlantic by 34. Darrell Robinson, UConn running back, 156 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Huskies defense held the Owls to just 11 first downs, 1 for 8 on third down, and 87 passing yards. Keep going, UConn. See if you can get to a bowl game this year. Sam Houston State, they're a quiet 3-1 after having a bad first year or 2. Beat New Mexico State by 20, who's not as good as they were. They're 1-3 now. That's crazy because they had a hell of a team last year. Washington won their first Big Ten game, beat Northwestern 24-5. Florida State, another Florida team wins that has been sinking. Beat Cal, barely, 14-9. But hey, a win is a win, I guess, especially when you're losing. Miami, Florida team who's on a steam path. Beat South Florida 50-15. I actually thought USF would play a little bit better than they did, but Miami just manhandled them. This is a good game. I watched this one. Actually, one of the games I watched Saturday night. Iowa's offense, they started slow. First half against Minnesota, only scoring 7 points, but woke up in the second half, outscoring the Gophers 24-0 and won 31-14. Iowa running back Caleb Johnson, 206 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. And on that broadcast, Tal Blackledge was like, just keep getting it to Caleb Johnson. He was right. That guy had a hell of a game. Texas A&M, my team, I swear, what the hell's your problem? Can you explain it to us? Anybody there? They beat Bowling Green, but only by 6 points. Marcel Reed, quarterback for A&M, 173 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 91 yards. Y'all need to get the crap figured out and get it figured out quick. Tennessee and Oklahoma. Man, what a game. They welcomed OU to the SEC with a loss, 25-15. I actually thought Oklahoma would play a little bit better, but now, seeing their quarterback situation, I can understand why they didn't. They're outscored 22-3 in the first 3 quarters of this game. Vols defense held the Sooners to 3 for 15 on third down. Only 36 rushing yards. Again, theme of the weekend, low rushing yards. Good run defense last weekend. 222 total yards, 3 sacks, and forced 3 turnovers. Tennessee won at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Played great offense and defense. So, OU, they got some things to figure out too. Ole Miss, no problem with Georgia Southern. They won 52-13. Jackson Dart, 382 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. 2 of them were to Trey Harris. Baylor took Colorado to overtime and lost 38-31 when they fumbled crossing the goal line in overtime. Baylor needed that win. Colorado did too, but oh well, what are you going to do? Boston College, boy, 3-1. I didn't think Bill O'Brien would be a good fit there, but he was. Beat Michigan State 23-19. But Michigan State quarterback Aiden Childs did throw 3 interceptions to help the Eagles out. So there you go. Fresno State, they're 3-1, beat New Mexico 38-21. New Mexico, 17 for 128 yards on penalties. You know, first few weeks of the season, they just couldn't finish games. Now penalties are going to kill them. I don't know what the Lobos have to do to win a game besides, finish and clean up the penalties. Oregon State 3-1, they beat Purdue 38-21. Purdue's 1-2 now. Purdue only 13 first downs, 2 for 9 on third down, and only 56 passing yards. BYU, I thought this was going to be a really good late game. Turned out it wasn't. It's kind of one-sided. BYU 4-0 now, beat Kansas State 38-9. Jake Retzlaff for BYU, 149 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Tommy Parasis, 30-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Parker Kingston, 90-yard punt return for a touchdown. K-State turned the ball over 3 times. And Hawaii, they're 2-2 now. A lot better than it used to be. Beat Northern Iowa 36-7. Hawaii quarterback Brandon Shager, 374 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. 2 of them to Nick Sonoli. None of us got to see it because Hawaii just doesn't want us watching their free games anymore. They want you to pay for them. All right. Let's get to the preview of things coming up this weekend. Tomorrow night, 3-0 Army. They got a great quarterback. He showed that last weekend. Going to 1-3 Temple. But, it's Army. And Temple just won their first game. You know they're on a high. This could be a good game. Temple could fight to get that second win. We'll see. 6:30 ESPN. Friday, 2-2 Virginia Tech at 4-0 Miami. Gets us a little closer because the sunlight's going away. This was a good rivalry years ago. Remember those rivalries back when they were both in the Big East and even into the ACC? Vautech and Miami. One of them, if not both of them, were usually undefeated when they met or had 1 or 2 losses, but it's still a battle for the conference. Just not recently. Not recently. That's 6:30 ESPN. 3-1 Washington goes cross country all the way to Rutgers, who's 3-0. 7 p.m. on Fox. See what this travel does to them. See if it affects them any. We'll see. May have affected Cal against Florida State on Saturday. Saturday, 11 a.m. ABC, 2-2 Kentucky versus 4-0 Ole Miss. Ole Miss does have a better passing and rushing game. 11 a.m. on Fox, 2-2 Minnesota at 3-1 Michigan. Minnesota does have a better passing game. Rushing games are close, but Michigan does have a good run defense. We've seen how they shut down a couple teams this year. 11 a.m. ESPN. This ought to be a pretty good one. 3-1 Oklahoma State versus 3-1 Kansas State. Both coming off losses. Both are pissed that they lost. Could be a pretty good game. 11 a.m. FS1. 4-0 BYU versus 2-2 Baylor. Baylor is better than they were last year, but still not like they were a few years ago. 11 a.m. Big Ten Network. 3-1 Maryland going to 4-0 Indiana. Did you ever think you would say Indiana was 4-0? It's probably been a long time since that happened. Both quarterbacks in this game, over 1,000 yards passing and 8 touchdowns. So that might be the one to watch right there. Maryland and Indiana. 11 a.m. CBS Network, 3-1 Buffalo versus 2-2 UConn. UConn on a roll. So is Buffalo. UConn very much improved in this year. 11 a.m. The ACC Network, 3-1 Western Kentucky goes to 3-1 Boston College. Eagles, another team that's on a roll this year. 11 a.m. on the CW, 2-1 Northern Illinois versus 2-2 NC State. Northern Illinois does have a better passing game. NC State is better in the rushing game. 11 a.m. the ESPNU, 2-2 South Florida versus 2-2 Tulane. Both of them thought their years were going to be a lot better than they are. Who knows? 2 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-1 Texas State versus 3-1 Sam Houston. Battle of two very much improved Texas teams. That could be one to watch if you got ESPN Plus. 2:30 CBS, 2-1 Wisconsin, who's, let's face it, their season's not going like they thought. Not scoring a whole lot of points, lost to Alabama. Well, now they get to go to California to play 2-1 USC. They're pissed because they lost to Michigan. They're pretty much even in the rushing game, but the USC does have a better passing game than that. 2:30 on Peacock. 3-0 Louisville versus 3-1 Notre Dame. That could be a pretty good one there. Another big test for the Irish, though. They've had a big test against Northern Illinois. They got another one. Louisville, better passing game, but the Irish are a little better in the rushing game. 2:30 on ESPN, 3-1 Arkansas versus 3-1 Texas A&M. Aggies, you cannot play like you did against Bowling Green. You really can't. I know none of y'all watch this show, but if y'all do, you can't, all right? 2:30 on Fox, 3-1 Colorado versus 3-0 Central Florida. Colorado, better passing, but Central Florida is a little better in the rushing game. 2:30 on FS1. 3-1 Fresno State versus 3-0 UNLV, who I think UNLV's quarterback just left the team because something to do with NIL. He was promised stuff that he's not getting it. So I think he left the team. Go look it up. I think he did. Still might be a good game. Good Mountain West matchup, maybe. 2:30 ESPNU. 2-2 Georgia Southern versus 2-1 Georgia State. Hey, Battle of the Peach State. That could be a decent game there. 2:30 on ABC. 3-1 Oklahoma goes to 2-2 Auburn. Both these teams are kind of in turmoil right now. Auburn's just a dumpster fire. OU's got a quarterback issue and some offensive issues, so I don't know. And besides, how's Auburn play after the coach threw a couple of their players under the bus? Do they go out there and say, whatever, man, screw this guy? Or what? Who knows? 3 p.m. ESPN2. No, it's not the basketball game. But, hey, North Carolina versus Duke. 3-1 versus 4-0. They don't like each other. And can the Tar Heels bounce back after that crazy crap that happened in their home stadium last week? 3 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-2 UTSA versus 2-2 East Carolina. First golf conference game for both of these guys. 6 p.m. Peacock, 3-0 Ohio State versus 3-1 Michigan State. Ohio State is better in the pass and rushing game. 6 p.m. on ESPN, 2-1 Stanford, going all the way across country. 2-1 Clemson. Long flight for them. 6 p.m. ESPN Plus, 2-2 Tulsa versus 3-1 North Texas. First conference game for these two. North Texas is Morris. 1,204 passing yards, and he's thrown 11 touchdowns so far. Probably won't be considered for the Heisman because where he plays, just like Billy Zape. Remember Billy Zape a couple years ago? Led just about every quarterback category. Wasn't even invited to New York that year. But watch this guy. This guy's pretty damn amazing. 6:30 ABC, the one everybody's talking about, 3-0 Georgia versus 3-0 Alabama. Passing games, pretty close in this one. Bama is the better rushing team. Looks like they're going to have the tablet out and the TV out because also 6:30 NBC, 4-0 Illinois versus 3-0 Penn State. These teams are actually close. Close in numbers in the rushing and passing game. May just come down to plays in the trenches. We'll see. 6:45 SEC Network, 2-2 South Alabama versus 3-1 LSU. South Alabama, we just mentioned it, manhandled Appalachian State in their own stadium. LSU, doesn't matter what side of the ball, who you're going to get. You're going to get a top 5, top 10 team on that series, or you're going to get a team that's just stopped playing football for a year, take a year off. You never know, man. South Alabama, they could go in there and steal one like they did at App State. LSU, though, is better in both passing and rushing. But again, who are you going to get each series? So, I mean, that's the big question. 7 p.m. ACC Network, 1-3 Florida State versus 3-1 SMU. Last week was at the beginning of a Florida State winning streak. I don't know. SMU is pretty damn good. And they barely beat Cal. Did not look good doing it. And they're going there to Dallas to play SMU. 7 p.m. ESPN2, 3-1 Cincinnati versus 3-1 Texas Tech. Texas Tech slightly better passing game. Rushing games are pretty even, though, in this one. A couple of decent late ones. 9 p.m. Florida State. 9 p.m. Fox Sports 1, FS1. 4-0 Washington State going to 2-1 Boise State. Washington State better passing game. Broncos are better in the rushing game, so that could be a pretty good late game. Also, another one that could be pretty good. 9:15 ESPN. 2-1 Arizona goes to 4-0 Utah. Both these teams are pretty close in passing game and rushing game, so we've got a couple of good ones. And if you want to keep Saturday Night Football going, we got one more mention for you. 10 p.m. on Fox, 3-0 Oregon versus 1-2 UCLA. Hey, it's late night college football, so I mean, when Hawaii wasn't that good and was playing a team that wasn't that good, and they started 11 o'clock at night, I watched it because it was college football late into the night. That's it. Like I said, it is Wednesday, man. We are halfway through the work week. Weekend will be here soon. Be safe. Work. Keep busy. Work and keep busy so the week will go by fast for you. And we'll see you next week, sometime early next week, to go over everything that happened Saturday and what's going to come up the next week. Anyway, be safe. We'll see you next time.